inside Thursday night. How's it going? Alright, strip back, good crack, multi-trade podcast. Share the knowledge you know, help to make our sector grow. Everybody's learning from experts and the journeyman. Insights.
Right, we're back. Season 6, Episode 4. I'm Stephen Buckley.
And I'm Keith Delahan.
And this is Insight, the Stripped Back podcast, sponsored by Robust Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company.
And in association with Snickers Workwear Ireland.
Later on this episode, for the special guest interview, we've got Louise Dunne, makeup artist and entrepreneur, joining us in the studio.
But first, on the Overload segment, we've got Gary O'Neill. He is an electrician and MD of O'Neill & Sons Electrical.
Let's get into it.
Let's jump into it.
This podcast is sponsored by Robust Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company.
Jump over and download the My Robust app, see their full range and catalogue, and make the next order with ease.
Guys, thanks for joining myself and Keith on the podcast again. Finally got you in 4K. Last time was audio only.
I think you're going to lose a few followers now because you have the visual of me now.
Well, if you didn't lose them already with us going on the screen, we'd be all right with you.
Getting a few complaints in there, yeah. Look, it's one of those things where we're sort of doing a bit of a 180. We're working our way back through some of the old guests as well. I think it's good because within the space of, 6 to 12 months, a lot of things change and the industry's changing. And the last time I was talking to you, it was all domestic, and you were talking about getting into renewables and more solar and stuff. Yeah. Is that something, have you gone more down that route since the last time we spoke to you?
We have, yeah. So we're starting to do more solar. Like, we're still kind of delivering just kind of in one package. We aren't solely focusing on solar, because still a lot of our work is domestic agricultural. Yeah. But because so much is out there for solar, and we're getting people that are long-time customers, looking for solar panels, calling us, and we couldn't do them. So he was like, sure, there's a fucking whole section there, we're totally missing out on. For long-term customers as well, who want to reach out to us as well for us to do the install. So we're like, why not?
Extra string to the bow, isn't it?
Exactly, yeah.
And when you're pricing up new work, even new customers, being able to offer that, it's just, that you don't have another, not a competitor, but another company coming in.
Yeah.
And we all know, we've all been on jobs, when you do a domestic job and then you get a crowd from maybe the other side of the border or something coming down and hacking away at your board. Nobody likes it. So you're better to
there's some boys coming in and out that maybe specialise in some area, and you're back there in next year, the year after looking after the place, and they're after firing stuff in, and you're like, for fuck's sake, you're dealing with it.
We were only talking about it there the other night, about having sort of your finger in different pots, you know what I mean, and not sort of isolating yourself to one sector, because you don't want to maybe see the arse drop out of one sector and then not have anything to fall back on,
Yeah. It's all as handy, obviously, security and access control laws, that's more or less another trade. So we never ever kind of went to go down that route. We knew before it was a separate trade, we knew that it was going to go that way, and we weren't going to go into that. But when EV chargers started coming out, and then that solar started picking up, and we were getting lots of calls about it, and we were just turning away, and we're like, these are all a lot of good second, maybe even third generation customers come back from my dad's early days that are looking for this work, and we're turning them away, and it's kind of, you feel a bit guilty turning them away for that little work, whereas you've done everything else for them. So it's a no-brainer, sure, to go into it. You're at it probably longer. You're at it a good bit longer than I am, Keith.
Yeah, I had a good while. But at the same time, what you said, I wouldn't pin my hat on it and say that's all we're doing, because there's a lot of people doing it. I think it's just for us, we subcontract, we don't do it directly, and we just offer it as part of, say, a rewire or a new house that we're doing. I don't think I'd ever go down the route of doing solely solar, because they are like everything else, the grants will dry up.
They will.
And then you're back to square one.
I think there's a bit of a gold rush on at the moment. So many lads are setting up solely solar companies, where we're not. We're electrical contractors, and that's part of the package. It's not a separate company to us, because I have the feeling that when a lot of this kind of starts drying up, a lot of those companies that have installed,
they'll all be looking for work.
They'll be closing the doors, and the customer now has no comeback on them.
So it's all more of a focus on it now where when you get these storms and stuff coming in, and it puts more focus on renewables with like generators and solar and, you know, EVs. The end of the world is sort of pushed down people's throats, like, you know what I mean? So it's sort of it gets that type of gold rush going.
Because the power's out for an hour, like, you know, we need battery backup.
I've no Wi-Fi. What the fuck is happening? Like,
Kids are crying.
people asking us, you know, after the storms, especially down our way, like, is there any way I can plug my car in and power my house? Is like, not yet, but like there will be, like,
I think
that's Sig Energy auction.
They've won, don't they?
To a 12.5 kilowatt DC charger.
Yeah,
that's a fucking animal.
Yeah,
I
think the car companies have to agree to it or something.
I think they do. Yeah, I got 2 display units off them for the Tulla show back in August. Like, there's a agricultural show, and I was like, I'll just get a gazebo. And I was setting up, and the brother was like, "This looks shy." Just a bit of plywood and these units setting out, and the amount of people, like, I didn't get to sit down all day.
Coming and asking,
and a lot of them are like coming up. Like, there's 2 other companies there, and I had a little desk and a couple of pamphlets. Yeah. I had, like, there's only a dummy model, but you can go up and look at the size of the model and go, oh, is that how big it is? Like, yeah, it's the size of it. And the DC charger, your man's like, please don't lose it. It's the only one I have. And I thought, Jesus Christ. And I set it up the night before, and I was like, jeez, I hope the security, like, fucking keeps an eye on that. Like, you know, what? Only
you trying not to break the screws on it and everything.
And Jesus, I was wrecked at it. I was up at ACDC up here the night before, and I drove up and drove home, and I think I was home at like 2, half 2, and I was back out at the show at 7 a.m. And I was like, I now go for a pint after. I sat down at home before I even ate and just fell asleep on the couch.
Gone.
John, you're just going all day.
Do you see Duracell are doing the chargers now? Them over here.
I haven't seen Duracell.
Have car chargers now.
Have car chargers.
Just a fucking Duracell car charger.
But they have
they have the batteries. Like a big massive battery.
They have the batteries as well. Yeah, it was just a white box, as it says Duracell and black on it. Like
Duracell leasing out their name, isn't it?
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah, to give a bit of business.
People like think, oh, there's a shit ton of Duracell batteries in the back of the office.
But that Sig Energy one, that has like a power module, doesn't it? That goes into the stack, doesn't it?
I haven't installed one yet.
No,
like, I have jobs priced and I've got them, and the fucking houses are literally only in the blockwork, so way down the line.
Yeah.
I contacted the wholesaler and they're like, I said, when can I get a 5 kilowatt battery? Like, there's a bit of a delay. It's like, how long? Like, May. It's like, fucking May. Like, what?
Jeez.
So I went back to a couple of people. It's like, I could do 8 kilowatt if you want. They're like, oh, give us a price for it. And I gave them the price. They're like, yeah, okay, well, can we have 2 of them? Like, okay, grand, great, perfect. Jeez. And they have them in stock. The better.
Some money though, isn't it? Like, but I suppose it's the battery, is the gateway, isn't it? The battery or the backup power that you can have from them as well. Like, is what's selling them, you know.
The gateway isn't authorised at the moment by NSAI or Safe Electric.
Is it still not? Yeah,
there's an automatic changeover. Like, surely they could put in a manual changeover, which would be fine.
Yeah, there'd be more people crying out for that stuff, like in Culture Land, Ireland, as they call it.
Down my way, yeah.
Like in Dublin, you don't see a lot of people crying out for it.
We've one in Sandy Cove. Now it's not. It's only been built at the minute, but it's right beside a flood area. Like, but this place is like, it's like Fort Knox. Like, your man has it spec'd. It's a high end, like, but he has submersible pumps that he's going to be able to pump that flood water back out. So he's going to need the battery.
Jesus.
He's looking to go off grid, you know what I mean, whenever he has to, like, you know.
So just see it getting dangerous, like, you know, you see these films where you see your neighbour having all this technology and equipment and stuff that's going to keep you alive, keep your family alive.
The Purge, is it?
Yeah, and everybody's going to be coming for your house.
I'll get on the other side of the fence if something like that happens. Fucking
electric fences and everything.
All the gates coming down over the windows and everything, yeah.
So it'll get that scary, like, you know what I mean? If there's a house on the road, like, that's still got power, cooking their dinners, and some fucking 3-4 houses along the road.
People will be knocking, it won't be trick or treaters, like, it'll be fucking open the fucking door.
You'll have lifting the batteries out of your shed.
Like, you get to see the bit of technology as well, like with the likes of Anchor and the likes of them.
Yeah, I was actually definitely going to look into that. It's really it reminds me a lot of the Power because it's really modular, but it actually looks a lot quicker and it's kind of sleeker even.
It's really quick. The only thing they haven't got, but it's in beta. They're getting it out, is the ability for the installer to be able to monitor past jobs. Do you know about
That's not available.
It's not available,
Is it not?
But they can see it. You know, the customer So when you hand it over to the customer can directly talk to Anchor.
Yeah.
But like, it's good for the installer.
Well, actually, yeah, it is good because they can just ask
you're gone. Once you've handed, it's a strange handover. We haven't done one yet because it's literally you're going through step by step, getting the job commissioned, and then you're literally calling the customer out. You can't do it without the customer there, basically. So the customer has to be standing beside you, right? So you bump an email to them to say this is the handover procedure. You get 59 seconds for them to use their verification code, the date that they get through an email, and you enter in on your phone. So they get the verification code. You have to enter in on your app. When you enter it in, you're done. That's theirs. They have it then.
They might be selling it in a way that like you're bypassing that, and it's getting straight to the people who know.
Yeah, you have a direct line.
Yeah.
In fairness, yeah, good idea, but at the same time, it should be allowing us to monitor it.
We've had one issue. We've done 20 systems. Customer came in and like, there's a similar system. Literally next door neighbour has the exact same system, Anchor as well, and they're looking at their apps, like same orientation, the whole lot. And he's like, "Well, mine's not doing. It's like doing half." Like immediately you're saying half, right? So that one string is gone, but we can't see that on the app. Like he can't see it on the app either.
Yeah.
There's no information screen where you can say, you're getting the voltage through PV2 or PV1.
Yeah, like I can do that with the software. Like I can, as you're saying, I can look back in the systems and I'd be like, why is that system? Like you can get a good idea. There's an 8-panel, 12 or 16. You can get a very good idea of what's coming through. But as you said, if somebody's like my neighbour is the very same system and very same orientation, why am I only getting half?
Yeah.
At least you could look back on the app and go, well, something wrong with string 1 or string 2.
So that had to go all the way back to Anchor, which you don't want the customer having to, I suppose, deal with that. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Themselves.
So would they be telling you, I think there's a problem, and you're having to then kind of pick up the phone and call Anchor or whatever?
And then go back. It's like a 3-way conversation where they could have rang us and said, look, we think we're not getting as much. I go on, log on, see off. Like thing is, it turned out it was a faulty fireman switch. Power was cut, power came back on, and it didn't re-engage. Like so, like simple fix for us.
Hit the nail on the head with a couple of things, but I think they've dropped the ball with that. Like not allowing the Solarman. I have the Solarman business app, and that's because it's for installer, but then it's a separate one for the homeowner. Brand.
Yeah, it's like
that double edged. Like, do you get a lot of nuisance calls down from the customers looking for information?
I did get a couple of nuisance calls, but it wasn't so far. It was, I won't say the name. It was a different make, and I don't use it anymore because I have the backup going back to fault to shoulder, because you have a point of contact for who I buy off, tech support as well, and like one tech support was updating the inverter I was at today while I was on the phone with a technician, then manually going through stuff on the inverter, which it sped it all up so much. Like, and I'm not trying to ring so far themselves. I'm literally ringing somebody down in
that's trained on it.
Down in their headquarters.
There's a lot to be said for it, isn't there?
They can even log in. Like, it's very handy for like homeowners. Battery drop below 20%, and I contacted them and said something's wrong. It's not set to charge at night at all. Yeah. And within 5 minutes, she had messaged me back on WhatsApp saying we've given it a forced charge. I'd suggest telling the homeowner to set it up. And she goes, if you want me to do it remotely from our offices, I can. I didn't realize I could do that. Yeah. So I can tell her set it to charge and discharge whatever these times when she can.
The last thing you want is those batteries going down.
Unless I call out the site.
Yeah.
So, you wouldn't mind if there was like a designated site, like say through one of the manufacturers, and they were monitoring it with trained staff, like they were monitoring it, and you're getting a call from the client then to check something out, and say you've got a designated install to say if it's Anchor, if it's any of the other companies where you're installing or you're logging into a site, but somebody else has done the troubleshooting already, and they're literally just giving you the answer. So you're not wasting your time then having to go searching and trying to figure out what it could be. They've already done a bit of the legwork for you.
Like, I'm not sure how deep it goes with the SIG energy stuff, but I do know like the AI in it is able to pick up. But we were told it's something along the lines of if you had a couple of batteries in the stack, it's able to detect if one of the batteries isn't behaving as it should, and it'll notify SIG Energy, but they'll know who the installer was, and they're that confident that they won't go faulty. They will pay if we invoice them. They will pay for us to go out and just change a battery.
Yeah.
Or if it's a battery fault, whatever like that.
It seems to like
It's like
be
my
fairly,
energy. My energy with the Zappy charger as well, like, or any of their products. Like, they don't want me and you talking about it here bad mouthing it.
No.
They just want.
That seems to be
ease.
common now, doesn't it? Where people are just happy to give that amount of guarantee with it.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, which is big for somebody that's in a sense not new technology, like, but
Yeah.
you know, there's a lot of trust that you're having to put into these, like, in order to say I'm going to pay. I will pay money out, like, to installers to go and replace something.
Yeah. Like there's a lot to back up.
Yeah, there's
I
lots.
wouldn't mind. There was
a
actually a Zappy I installed and it did go completely dead. But because I'm not a registered installer with my energy, the homeowner was like, "Why the fuck can't you come out and change it?"
Yeah.
It's like, I can't. He said it has to be my energy, and my energy, and it was fucking weeks. Remember, he's 2 electric cars.
Yeah.
That's install costs. It's costs from the supplier
Yeah.
who's given the units, and then if there's delivery costs, everything as well. It's the whole lot.
Well, I had one Zappy early on when we started fitting them, and they fitted for a customer, and then the screen went on it, so the screen just went blank.
Yeah.
So called over. I didn't know what the story was. I didn't know the isolator on. Didn't know anything about it. Went over, figured out, right, the screen's just gone.
Yeah.
So set up a ticket with them. I think I filled out the thing, became a registered installer.
Yeah.
I didn't even remember doing it, but I was a registered installer anyway. And so I just said to the customer, I said, look, just mention that I was here. I can come back and fit the screen for you. You just get them to send it out. So that was grand. They sent the screen out. It came out within 2 days, I think it is, 2 or 3 days. And fit the screen, still nothing out of the screen. So obviously it was deeper than that. So went back to them again. They sent a charger out in another 2-3 days. And they paid me the 3 call-outs. 3 or 4 call-outs to do it. And your woman got a new charger in the end of it.
Yeah.
They didn't even want the old charger back. And the funny thing about it was, I said there, like, it was still working, just the screen was dead now.
Yeah.
So I said, father-in-law was getting an electric car. And I said, look, charger down there, that might tie you over till you get your own charger.
Yeah.
Stuck it on the wall, thing lit back up. It's still fit today.
So you didn't try to turn it off and on again?
No.
Have you heard of any issues? Because I've had a couple of lads, even with us now, I won't mention the units, we get a lot of call outs for faulty CTs because of overheating inside the car chargers.
Maybe, because actually the job was on today, that inverter with the guy that was on with tech support, the inverter was back working, but he said it should be perfectly balanced what's coming in from the battery, the solar, the home grid. He says it's not, and we were messing around with the CT. He said, right, we're sending you out a new CT. See if I think how are they going to fault? He goes, it just can be out of the box. And he did mention sometimes excessive heat, or obviously magnets don't like heat.
Yeah,
setting these units up like so well, like to make
to get the oil
it's no ventilation.
No, so it's no chance to cool. So then it's fucking a magnet up or whatever, and it's like
something's interesting. It's just 2 of them there in the space of a month on the same unit. And I've seen a couple of videos.
Car chargers.
Yeah.
I know the ones. Yeah.
Like my energy are very good with the Harvey first. Like I think some inverter manufacturer have kind of dropped the ball with that, because my energy one is fucking. I've never had a bother with any of them Harveys. Like
yeah, you're just wondering why they can't do that on the solar side, like because they have a serious distance.
My energy have nailed it, like.
Yeah, serious distance. Like I'd have one that could be the opposite side of a block house and it's still picking it up.
Serious range on them. Like.
You'd wonder.
Yeah. Even I've seen a couple of houses that like 2 or 3 together with Harveys, and I thought there'd be massive problems with interference, and no.
And then like you could be down the road from someone and you're trying to pick up, the Wi-Fi even on them. You're picking up next door's one.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's mad, mental. They have it locked in, all right.
What's the time like when you've done the whole install and then you're trying to price an install on a car charger? So you've done your whole labour, you've got your cables ran in, you've got your connections in, isolators on the whole lot, like, and then you have to stand around for a couple of hours waiting on an update.
Oh yeah.
Like how do you price that? Like
depends on which one you're fitting. Like my Energies ones are fairly good. It depends on the internet as well. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I've heard a few people like.
There's no money in waiting around for them to be downloaded.
A lot of today now was me kind of sitting around while that thing was updating. Like But it was also a bit of problem solving for me. I was going through everything, making sure like nothing on my side was wrong, that they'd come back and go, something wrong on PV1. I was like, jeez, I feel like a fool then for calling them, be like, there's something wrong, and it was fucking me. But there was, as you said, like that hasn't been priced. It's me sitting around with this CT going wrong now. That hasn't been priced. So
it's a common thing on Instagram. I just see lads and they're taking a picture, and it's just, you see the software up there, firmware up there, whatever it is. Like, and you're just thinking, like, it has to be a common issue with lads that are getting fairly peeved off with it, like, where you can't. No, just plug and play. Like, I
know the stuff is rolling off the production line. Is it really advancing that fast that by the time it actually hits the shelf and we install it, that it's already outdated? Like,
in fairness to the Anchor ones now, it says 15 minutes, and it's 15 minutes. You've your tidy up done, and it's ready to go. Like.
I think Sig Energy is, they say 5
minutes. Theirs is even better.
And it's a brain of its own. So you plug it in, and it'd be interesting to see that Anchor. Like, definitely. You plug into Sig Energy, and I think it has like multiple fire detection suppression systems in it, like pressure release and self-heating batteries, all that crack. Like,
the last time I think myself and Keith seen you would have been the awards.
Oh yeah, I snuck off at the end of the night. Yeah,
you were gone. You'd work the next morning.
I'd work the next day, and it kind of part of me was like, "Jeez, I shouldn't have snuck off." And it's like that's the same thing with Asher.
Yeah,
like I kind of, some people I might push out a couple of weeks or days, and then I'd personally feel bad if I told them I'll be there next week and cancel. I'll be there next week and cancel, and they were like, "Fuck no, I definitely make a call out to them."
Is that a Friday night, was it?
It's Friday night,
Friday night.
Yeah. So you can't pull out Saturday morning. I know you're on the beer, you know what I mean?
And the two lads with me were dead certain, like, they were even a little late that morning. They were dead certain I wouldn't be up. I was like, I was fucking there before them and everything.
Has the award stood to you in any way other than just the recognition for the company?
Like, it was a good confidence boost, sorry. Still came away from it kind of like an imposter syndrome, though. Do you know, I was kind of going, I bet you if more lads entered, like, I wouldn't have won. And it's terrible, like, you get that voice in your head, but it used to be a lot louder years ago, but it's not too bad now. But it's the same thing, you don't go around saying that because people will be like, fucking big head in your man there thinking he's the great. Like,
that's a real Irish thing, that, though.
It is, yeah. Look at your man, he thinks he's the fucking the shit, like.
Well, look, you have to, suppose, put yourself out there and go for them things. Like, if you're anyway ambitious, you're gonna, like, for your company and that, even your dad and everything, like, it's great.
I did have someone say to me after, and he worked with my dad for years, he'd be a relation of mine, and he always has something very funny to say, and he says, you may be the electrician of the year, but that man there, he says, that's the electrician of the century. He said, last fucking century.
What century?
That was brilliant.
That was a good night, like, and you're sure yourselves getting a special recognition award as well, like.
It was good for us, like, we stayed to the death, like, we said we'll get in, we'll get out, like, we'll...
Yeah.
And I think we're the last ones at the bar.
The last ones there, I don't even know who we were talking to.
I think it was, I could have been fucking 2 or... 4. It was definitely after 2:30 when I leave, so it must have been late enough for you.
Yeah. It's one of those things where, like, you don't get a lot of opportunities to experience that, so you might as well just soak it in,
Even getting, like, were you speaking to the editor herself, like, of the magazine?
She was at the same table,
yeah. Oh, she was at your table.
Sat right beside her, teacher's pets, we were like.
Yeah. Which was great for her, like, to have you there as well. But she was saying to me, like, well done, congratulations. And I was like, yeah. And I was kind of talking myself down a bit as well. And she was like, don't talk like that. She says, you didn't get this for nothing. This goes through a whole process. And like, I forgot how much like paperwork and application I did. I kind of was going, fuck this, there's so much to fill out, like, and I left it, and then they were like calling me saying, oh, it's been extended. I was like, yeah, and I filled out another bit, and then they sent me more paperwork. I was like, I don't think I'll bother filling it out, like, it's kind of getting down myself. And then suddenly they're like, oh, you're in the final, so you may come up to the clarification. I said, how the fuck did I get into the final? Didn't finish the paperwork.
Someone was
maybe they liked what they seen, I don't know.
It's one of those, like, our sort of award is based off the public recognition, like, so it's people got behind us, they threw in the votes, and we were sort of pushing for us, we were spreading the awareness around where you're having to talk for yourself, like, you know what I mean, you're having to big up your own company, like, which is hard to do at the best of times, like, when the imposter syndrome does kick in, because you're nearly thinking, and I know you've mentioned it as well, when you start writing down what you do, you're thinking, well, sure, Joe Bloggs is doing that as well, or, you know, Henry Dean sitting at the same table is doing it.
And I was dead certain Henry had it. Because
but why though? Yeah, like he could, like, he probably is deserving, and so are you. But it's just, it's, you like what she was telling you on that night, like, don't talk yourself down, you know.
And it's, I think it's definitely an Irish thing. Yeah. Because when I was at the Screwfix Chalk, the British lads, especially, like even the Scottish or anybody Welsh, were very good at talking themselves up. And if I was trying to do that voice in the back of my head saying, shut up, you. Like, shut up, you.
You're trying to do it again, hey? Alex. Shut up and just take the award. Yeah. Fucking dumb.
Shut up.
Be ours on the wall behind you.
Be grateful. Be grateful.
We stuck ours up straight away.
Is that right? I put mine up at home, middle of the mantelpiece, and put the award in front of it. And the missus says,
get that down.
When are you going to find somewhere to actually put that? I said, that's where it's fucking staying. Like right in the middle.
Was there more sort of pressure leading into it than there was actually just getting the award? Like, was there any pressure on you, like, or was it just free flowing, like, whatever happens, like, once you knew you were, like, in the final?
Did feel a bit of pressure because I felt like I went to the Screwfix Chalk, I got the final, but I didn't win.
Yeah.
And I was like, there's never been an Irish winner. And then I got to this, and I felt like that, again, that voice in the back of my head saying, you're fucking dope now if you lose this one as well.
Always the bridesmaid or that type of thing. Yeah. Was there more pressure on our challenge wall?
I think there's way more pressure on that. Never felt like it was, I hadn't any problem getting up on that stage, and I'm sure you were the same. Doing that there, it was torture.
We took out the air conditioning on purpose, you know what I mean?
Felt the heat, like, definitely felt the heat on that.
Here, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems to be one of those things. We did it in, obviously, eFix in the UK.
Yeah. That must have been a lot of pressure. Like, there's a lot of...
You had 3 goals at that, though. That's the only
thing. We only give the one.
Yeah.
And one chance.
That's more fair. Yeah, and because they have such a big following, like, you probably were well aware, like, Jesus, like, there's people
watching this, yeah.
I'm starting to see lads now, like, building their own ones on jobs, like, for their apprentices, like, to keep them
sharp.
Going, like,
Jack Dino had it, JD, like, he had it up, like, asking lads for any more ideas. And I think of do the same as well. It's not a bad idea, because there are, fortunately, a lot of apprentices out there doing industrial work, and a good way or two-way switch, right?
Yeah.
Just a bit of repetition on it, like, it's good.
That's all it is. It's just practice.
Yeah.
Have you any apprentices with you?
Not yet. Now, hopefully soon. Just we're all kind of saying to ourselves, we'll get ourselves in a good kind of financial position.
If
we're taking somebody on, we don't want to take somebody on and kind of, if work slow it up a bit in 6 months, we're like, Jesus, we can't be letting this go. Put ourselves under pressure. So we said, we'll get ourselves in a good position, because we only went limited, say, January last year. My dad was sole trader for 40 something years.
Yeah.
So he sole trader since he's 20, and he's 63 now, so he's only gone limited.
Yeah.
So me, my dad, my brother are the 3 guys in it. And the brother isn't the sparks, but he's got the brains for it all. Like,
yeah.
He'd be a project manager, so, but he does his own thing as well.
Yeah.
So it's great to he's able to jump on board and still do his own thing too.
You have a big enough van out there for a few apprentices anyway.
Yeah, an army of them in it, like, yeah.
How do you find that, like, when you wouldn't get around the city centre now? And
that's what a lot of lads say that to me. Like, when I was going to get it, I was like, I'll get a transporter, I'll get a roof rack on it, and if I had ladders on it, you won't get into underground car parks. I was like, listen, I'm not planning on going to the city and that. And I wanted something I can stand up in, because my knees are crying at me.
Yeah.
Because I was getting in and out the back of a Volkswagen Amarok, and I thought it was just my knees were getting bad. It wasn't. It was getting in and out of that was fucking them up.
Yeah.
So it made a huge difference to get that. And I had the idea for like you seen the logo and all, and that idea was in my head for the last 4 or 5 years. And lads are like, if you visualize it and all this. I used to listen and going, fucking shit. But no, honest to God, I kind of think like that, going, I'm going to get one of those vans. I'm going to put that brand, I'm going to have that logo, that van, everything has been in my head for years. And it's good to see, good to get it in my hands, like at the wheel of it now.
Manifested it all, yeah.
Yeah, that fucking word.
Woosah.
Yeah.
It's been a pleasure, Gary, having you on.
Thanks for jumping on. Fair play.
Thanks for having me. Yeah,
we get everybody to stick an old song on the Spotify playlist before they leave. What would your song choice be?
It's going to have to be AC/DC, probably "Fly in the Wall." Little lesser known one, but a good one.
Go with that.
Yeah, fair play, Gary.
Cheers, guys.
Thanks, lads.
In the bag. Great having Gary in.
Always great chatting to Gary. He was on one of the previous seasons, and look, I've been talking to him on and off during the week about other electrical matters. He's always a good man, wealth of knowledge. So is his father, and yeah, great chatting to him.
Yeah, it's always good to be able to get back to our roots, talk to fellow electricians and fellow tradies, and it was a learning curve for me listening to the two of you talk about solar. So I was like a viewer or a listener there, looking at the two of you and listening to the two of you talk about all the technologies and stuff that are coming down the road that I might never get a chance to work on. So really good listening to it, and hopefully our listeners will enjoy it too. Yeah,
really appreciate you, Gary. Thanks for jumping in with us.
I guess we'll just keep rolling on now. We've got Louise Dunne joining us in the studio for the special guest interview segment.
Let's jump into it, Steve-o.
This episode is coming to you in association with Snickers Workwear Ireland.
So jump on to snickersworkwear.ie, see what they have on offer, and find your local stockist.
Louise, thanks for joining myself and Keith on the podcast. Really appreciate you taking the time late at night to join us.
Thanks very much for having me.
Thanks for taking the long journey in.
Oh, yeah, I know. Locked outside, lads, nearly left, but no, sure, I'm here now.
I was having panic attacks there. I had the Uber ordered, and we were in a previous recording just before you here, and I was looking at the phone, but I didn't realise that I actually put my phone on Do Not Disturb. So taxi driver probably rang once maybe, and I don't think you were left outside too long in the cold, right?
8 minutes.
8 minutes, guys. Yeah. I run a tight ship now with these podcasts. No, it was grand. I just had a feeling these were in the studio, so I was just like, no, I know they're here. They have to be in here. Like, there's only one light on in this lighting place, but it's okay. Yeah.
But,
no, appreciate you coming in.
We take things back a bit with all our guests. We talk about childhood traumas and all that. But,
podcast traumas right outside.
Yeah. Right. But you made the long trip, as Keith said, from the Liberties, but that might not have been where you grew up in Ireland. But if you'd like to let us know, and maybe our guests know a little bit, maybe where you grew up and what school was like for you and stuff like that.
Yeah, sure. So I'm from Tallaght originally. I'm an only child. And yeah, I suppose and now I live in the Liberties nearly 20 years, but my father's side of the family are all from the Liberties, and they would have all been traders in the Ivy market. My dad and my granny on the dad's side who's passed on, so I always had a connection to the Liberties, but I actually grew up in Tallaght, which I loved, and I still love. I love Tallaght, but my family that I grew up with are still in Tallaght. So and then I was always I was thinking about was I ever really entrepreneurial as a child? And actually, I was chatting to my mum about this, and I found this notepad. I was always trying to start something with a band or something. I can't sing or anything, but just trying to go, when we get together and do this. So one of my get together and do this on the road playing was I used to do braids. When you went to Spain when you were younger and you might got these coloured braids. So I was doing them real young. And then I had or selling stuff on the road. Or making stuff to sell. Wouldn't sell anything that I owned, but I'm making things to sell. But one of the things was braids. But I had a list with my two of my friends, and it was the braids. I should have brought it actually. The braids were 20p, and two braids was 35. Yeah, oh yeah. But I had everyone listed as with the friends what they were doing. So I had one of them was the worker. I had the other was the helper, and I was the manageress. I had been out, but I would have been. I was looking at the writing and all better than it is now. But I was I wonder. I was probably about 9 or 10 when I was kind of doing stuff like that. And then in terms of I loved primary school actually, but in terms of secondary school, I was grand student. I wasn't, I what I liked. I wasn't particularly really good at English, but I really liked English. I wasn't as good at writing as I was at talking about it. And then I liked art and stuff like that, which sort of spurred on the sort of the creative aspect of kind of why I moved into makeup. But even at the time when I finished school and did my leaving cert, definitely looking back on that, the creative industry wasn't so much as supported as I feel it might be now in school. I think it's really important for teenagers now just to really whatever you're good at, lean into that and that's okay. And if that's whatever that is, like, just lean into that. Like, you know, I do feel sometimes the way the Leaving Cert is, like, and how it's tested, I don't think it always lends itself to strengths of the way people could be really, really good at something, but that's actually not the way they're testing, you know. So, so yeah, I enjoyed it. I like always had loads of friends, but I wouldn't say, like, you know, some people, like, they loved it and all. I was grand. I just went in, I was grand, had me pals, you know, always stressed now over the exams and I'm still like this now as well. Like, I did a coaching diploma a couple of years ago, and like, you think, like, there's definitely a thing around timekeeping. Like, I'm, you know, like, and it was so like that in school as well. That has never changed. When I'm like, oh, sure, I've got, you know, sure, I've loads of time to study for that. And the next day I'd be sweating. I'd be like, oh my God, I can't believe, like, you know, why didn't I start last week? And even like, same when I did the diploma now, I was so happy with myself because I, you know, I got a distinction, but I actually, like, the exact same was like, God, like, I've got 6 weeks now to get that in, you know, brilliant. Like, and then, you know, 2 weeks before, I'm like, oh, like, how am I going to get 5,000 words? Oh God. And doing anything else, things that I don't like to do, like the dishes or folding clothes, or sure, I'd be doing anything to put off what I actually had to do. So yeah, some of those things have really changed.
I'm guilty of that myself.
Really?
But you've experienced a lot of backlash in regards to makeup at a young age with school and stuff. I know I've heard maybe stories through my wife, like, going to certain types of school, like, that she was in, that there would have been maybe teachers or even other students, not allowing you. Would you have found that in Tala?
Well, I went to school in Temple Oak, but yeah. So, well, I suppose, like, in terms of I think more so, like, their statistics are like, you know, all schools want you to go to university. Like, that's, you know, if aren't they a good school, if like that's what I remember from myself, you know. So, like, you know, if everybody went to college, so they're really pushing you on, like, the CAO and stuff like that. So I do remember not really knowing what I wanted to do actually was kind of a challenge for me, because I just wasn't really sure. Like, nothing was really jumping out in me. Like, but I had a real interest, and still have, in, like, psychology and psychotherapy and theology, actually. So at the time I applied to a course which would have been theology and psychology, and I got that. But I had this huge passion for makeup. So I said to my mum, I was like, look, and at the time, you might remember this, but, like, there was only kind of one, like, makeup course college in Dún Laoghaire at the time. And it was like, it happened every 2 years. So it did happen in my year. But I don't know, I wasn't sure about, I just was a bit, no, I'll stick with this one, the psychology one. But then I saw this amazing course in the UK. And I was like, look, could I defer the course I'm after getting for a year, do this course in the UK and see where I land? And she said, yeah, like, go for it, you know. So I did this course in the UK, and then I got, when I was 19, so then I got what was my dream job at the time. I got a job in MAC Cosmetics. So I was 19, so I missed the other part of college, but I went to makeup college in the UK, came back and got that job. So then for me, it was like, that's all I wanted at the time, you know. So but yeah, there would have been, in terms of, like, I remember having to do, like, fake interviews, you know, like, when you're doing your leaving and stuff like that, like, and they didn't have anyone to bring for me because I wanted to do makeup or fashion or, you know, something like that. They just didn't know. They couldn't just bring in someone, because it wasn't the difference between, like, there's a difference between makeup artistry and beauty therapy. So they were like, would you just do beauty therapy? And sure, there's makeup days in that. And I was like, but that's not actually the job. It's a different job. Like, you know, so, like, I'm not a beauty therapist. Like, you can't come to me for a wax. You know, so so it's just a different role. And I think at the time there would have been, I suppose, like, kind of, like, not really sure how to support the student. I'm sure it's completely different now.
What was it like at such an early age going into MAC then?
Well, funny, there was loads of us that were that age. So there was a gang of people that were, like, probably, like, maybe 30, and then there was a gang of us that were, like, 19 and 20. So it was really, it felt safe because there was lots of people my age, and, like, it was just, it felt amazing, actually. I felt you know, I learned so much. I had like made amazing friendships that I still have. Like, you know, I recently, if you've seen my Instagram, you might have known that it's been Lou Fest. You might have known if there's a lot of spam about my birthday on my Instagram lately. But so I had a big birthday just there a few weeks ago. And thank you. But yeah, like it was pretty much like there was a lot of people there from that I know since I'm 9, since that first day in there.
Yeah.
So like that's a real, like, you know, I like it's great to have like those long lasting friendships, but a lot of us would have met that year actually, and we're still friends today. So that was, you know, that has to stay. Because we went through, I always say we went through makeups and breakups, you know. We were standing polishing the lipsticks or doing someone's makeup, and we would all be talking about.
Good name for a podcast.
I know, but we grew up. I mean, the years of like, and a lot of us stayed as well for, you know, I stayed for 10 years, and a lot of that generation did as well. So you can imagine you're going in as a young woman at you know, at 19, and you're leaving when you're almost 30, you know, like, is that right? Yeah, 29. So you would have been, so like that's huge amounts of growth and learning in your personal life and your work life, all of that stuff as well. So
people see then the makeup end of Mac and, you know, getting in there, and they might just from the outside looking in just think, right, they're just teaching them makeup, but there has to be other skills that come with it as well, like maybe like sales, like, and presenting yourself, and like, you know,
managing clients, and you know,
like
being able to talk to people. Like at a young age, like, was that hard? Kind of.
Like, well, I suppose, I think any job with an organisation that was kind of as big as Mac and as cool as Mac at the time, and you were working in the flagship store in Ireland, and when I joined, it was like the second busiest makeup counter in the world or something, you know, and like every year, like they'd Brown Thomas Grafton Street would beat Selfridges, and there was all this like buzz about the place, you know, so it was really exciting. So I think, you know, I think retail is really hard, you know, for you know, your battery, your social battery needs to be very high to work at a job like that, you know, 4 or 5 days a week. What I think the other skills that you learn is in, you know, I think that it's so much more than people just coming in sometimes and going, can I get a lipstick? Like, I actually think like you're dealing with people's self-image. You're dealing with what mood people are coming into you. And especially people like that are sitting down, getting their makeup done. And, you know, I think you become very intuitive about, you know, people's body language, what they're not saying, you know, becoming a really good listener, really understanding, like, not like how they want to look, like you're dealing with something so personal with people, like, and so I think like things like that, like, you know, there's a lot more value in actually, you know, your communication skills, I think, actually become quite good when you're in a role like that as well. I know you might say, oh, hairdresser like the therapist. So there's a bit like that with makeup as well, because like a lot of the time people they you know, they mightn't have ever had their makeup done, and they're coming into somewhere with no makeup on, which is full of girls wearing loads of makeup or men,
personal,
and,
like,
you know, it's so personal. So I think that there's those kind of in terms of like your communication skills, and also like just being like, you know, like kind, like, you know, and really understand, and like, you know, on a bigger picture, like that this might not be this, actually you don't know who's sitting down in front of you, don't know what that person's been through. It's not always a person going out, you know, on a big night out. Actually, they might have gone through something really horrendous actually, and this is a little treat, and maybe someone gave them, you know, you learn so much about someone sitting in front of you, and actually I think that part is the part actually that I really loved. Rather, part of it was the skill of doing it, but like you being able to help somebody feel better about their day was so much more than selling a lipstick, you know?
Yeah.
And if you look at the likes of, say, myself and Keith, and, you know, you go into a shop or you're going to pick up like Snickers workwear, and you want to work in Snickers workwear, or you're going and you're buying a phone, or you're buying something, you know, in your daily life that, you know, you've bought it, you're wearing it, it makes you feel a bit better when you walk out the door. Is makeup an extension of somebody in regards to who they really are? Like, you know, like, do people feel it's not a mask in a sense, like it's an extension of that person's personality, and it can be different every week depending on how they're feeling.
It's different every day. When you see me with the dark makeup on, you know, I'm in a bad mood. No, but no, like, it definitely is for me. It's part of my identity. I suppose, and I think that's not. It's actually just part of like like and like it's nothing about I've got really good skin and all. It's just part of like when I get up or I'm going somewhere, it's automatic. I just do that. So like or whatever. So it definitely is for me. So I know other people may not have that association, but maybe they feel it with their clothes or maybe they feel it with their hair, do you know?
Yeah.
But I definitely know for me, it's just kind of part of my identity. There's like a routine of like there's these products that are your kind of like everyday makeup bag. And then obviously you might have different stuff for going out or whatever. But normally, yeah, it's a bit of a uniform. But I don't think about it. You know, and it's interesting because like say sometimes people might be like, oh, like, you know, you should go natural or like, do you ever not wear makeup? It's like, no,
No,
not really. Like, not really. It's just, I don't think about it anymore.
Yeah,
it's just kind of like, you know.
You spoke about your early entrepreneurial flair that you had as a kid. When did that start to show its head again? So obviously with Mac, when did you kind of think of venturing out on your own, do your own thing? So
I think with Mac anyway, I probably would have been someone who was, you know, an ideas person and probably would have went up and been like, oh, do you know, we should try this, do that, or whatever. But when you're with a large company that's also in like a large department store as well, like your wings are kind of clipped. Like there's not a lot of red tape, you know what I mean? So I remember myself, like I was just getting a bit fed up over, you know, I'd gone for a job that I really wanted and I hadn't got it. And like this job only came around like every few years. And like, I was just like, I just don't, you know, my attitude. And I think also maybe my generation as well, like we were always people who were like, you know, you've got a great job, stay. Yeah. Where I feel like the generation now is like, but if you don't like it, leave. And actually, I'd probably be like that now. It's like, you know, if you don't like something or you're kind of not feeling it anymore and you're not really progressing, that's completely fine. But I felt, you know, I'd be worried I didn't get the job back or whatever. I don't feel like that now, but that's the way it was. Yeah. So I got to a stage after like 10 years and I was like, I'm done. I am Louise, done. I am so done. It's done and dusted here. It's done deal. So I just decided just to leave, but it was a huge step for me to leave and I didn't really have a plan. You might hear more about that. A bit of no planning, but I didn't really have a plan, but it was interesting in terms of just whether it was synchronicity or just timing. But when I left the next day, a friend of mine, another makeup artist that I had worked with who'd previously left, said, would you be able to come up and teach makeup in this college? And because I was like, I'm going freelance was the message. And I was like, yeah, deadly. So the teaching was great because I was off earlier. It was a bit more money. It was kind of also like I wanted a trainer job at the time. So it was almost like the job I didn't get. Yeah. And now I was like, you know, around all, I was in my element. And I think there was something really important about actually feeling, I felt really happy. I felt really grounded. I felt like I'd made the right decision. And I think leading from that place promotes a lot of positivity. Yeah. And it was actually at that time, working in that college, that I met my business partner, my ex-business partner, Neve. And me and her, she was doing like sales and marketing in the college. And I was one of the lecturers. So we then came up with the idea. We were like, you know, God, like I'm teaching loads of makeup artists here and, you know, they're all kind of like going back then to work on a counter, which is fine, but they want to be freelance. I was like, God, would it be amazing if there was like, you know, like an Uber or like an Airbnb for like, you know, hair and makeup artists, like where people could actually go and find them. So also to remind like the listeners as well, like this is like 2014. We weren't in this Instagram, you know, built for advertisement makeup worlds at the time. You know, I think we're only coming off the Bebo, like, you know, and he's like, you weren't putting up your makeup pictures like, you know, on Bebo or anything like that. So we were like, wouldn't it be amazing to do something like that? And there was a company in the States called Glam Squad and they had done something similar. I think they'd raised like 10 million or 20 million at the time. We were like, what's all this? We didn't know about stars. We're like, they copy ours? You know, how did they hear? Like, is it like, you know, it's just that this is a proof of concept and it's actually working. So maybe, you know, so we had it and we were like, you know, we try and give that a go. So myself and Neve like just said, here, fecka, we just like see and we like, in fairness, we went to like we weren't tech people. You know, she was sales and marketing, I had the domain expertise. So I was the makeup artist. So I knew how makeup artists thought. I knew what, you know, I knew I was walking the walk, so I could talk talk. So I kind of was able to understand what they needed, and I just stayed really close to the industry. Like I kept doing surveys, I kept asking makeup artists that I knew, like, what's your biggest problem, and started like really trying to tease out what is it they need without my own assumptions. And from then, myself and Niamh, we developed what was called Hooker, which was a platform for freelance makeup artists and hairdressers that do beauty appointments at the home, office or hotel. So we were bringing beauty to your door. So we were, like we used to say, we're building the world's biggest salon without any brick and mortar store, right? So that's kind of where it started. And, we went into like a co-working space, like with other startups who were, ahead of us in terms of like their investments and everything like that. So they were always like great advice for us. But we were 3 years like going around bootstrapping, trying to be, starting with like, a basic kind of website, then change, like we pivoted and changed loads. But we were 3 years trying to like get any money and get investment and stuff. And then it kind of all sort of happened at the same time, But I do feel that I always look back on that and go, that was, I was thinking I wanted to leave the counter job, I wanted to leave the retail aspect of things. But I just like, so all of those things happened. And I met Niamh, and like, but it was like as if it was so scary for me to take that step, because that was all I'd known since like 19. So, but like it was like this, domino effect then of good things that happened to get me to that point,
Would you have been nixering at the time, in a sense, like just to keep yourself going through that?
Freelance, we pay tax.
Dare you?
Yes.
But that like you're trying to think about, supporting yourself.
We're the same, by the way.
Yeah.
I'm
sorry, I'm an employee is used to, or the entrepreneurs.
Yes, I mean, no, you're right. No, I did makeup on the weekend. So like I did makeup every weekend. So whether I had a wedding or I sometimes would go into salons and like do makeup, or like any makeup jobs that were kind of, I had to do it as well, to kind of just keep afloat, just to keep going. So, now but during that time when we didn't have, loads of money coming in, like, 'cause it was interesting with Pucker because, we started making money on the kind of the first day. I know this sounds crazy to people who have businesses, but like we started off like basic with a WhatsApp group. We were like, right, makeup artists in a WhatsApp group, customers over here. We put up a landing page and social media on Facebook and all, and showcase the artists, and and then people were just like emailing us, here, can I book for tomorrow, or can I book? So before there was any automation, we were concierging the whole thing.
I was just about to say, so are you marrying the customer, and are they asking for a specific artist, or what way is that?
So both. So sometimes they would say, can I have this person, if they knew they were on the platform? But we were able, like, it took a while to do this. But we automated all of that. So we were able to, but we had to do it like without it being automated to see what we needed to automate. Right. Okay. So, but yeah, you're right. So say if somebody, like, we knew, like, sending like a makeup artist, they weren't enthusiastic about a WhatsApp group. Sending them a text, an SMS text, like, can you do this job this date, right? And they need to get back to us. And if that person didn't get back, we'll pass it on to the next person, right? And the next person said yes, then we'd link up that, right, or whatever, so that's so, but then we were able to automate that whole process as well. But we didn't know that that's what we need. Like, we didn't know, there's certain things you don't know until you start just testing.
Trial and error,
Absolutely. And that's the only way to kind of, like, in terms of the tech stuff, like, I said it, like, I didn't know anything, we didn't know anything about tech at the start, but we went to all these talks. We met so many other tech entrepreneurs that we were surrounded by it. And I suppose, like, one of the things as well, when I used to meet investors and all, I'd be really like, oh God, like, I hope they don't, like, I know a bit about tech, but I don't, I'm not a developer and all, actually, but it was my biggest asset was actually that I had the domain expertise. They loved the fact that we were doing this because they were like, you're doing all this stuff without spending loads of money. Because the amount of people, especially in the tech world, that would be like, we want that feature. We want that feature on our app, and it's like, that feature's 50 grand, Does anyone want the feature? Do you know? So I've seen that happen a lot. So it was a really good way for us to actually, we were able to
sell yourselves
and figure out like that actually we know this industry really well.
Yeah.
They don't want that. They want this. Or they're still on paper diaries. How do we get them to be early adopters onto the tech? Like, what are they going to use? What are they not going to use? So all of that stuff we actually did really well, before we built any technology. And then we kind of were able to spend a bit then going, this is actually how this platform is going to work,
Beta testing on it, yeah.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Did you feel pressure at the time that there might be somebody coming behind it, or did you just feel like you were just in it and that you were the only ones doing it?
Like, I think... No, there was other kind of similar businesses, but like I think that we're kind of trying to. But I think the thing with that type of business, it's actually really difficult to scale two sides of a marketplace. So we have the beauty professionals over here, and we have the customers over here. Like a lot of businesses just stick with one. Do you know what I mean? Like we were trying to scale two, and I think the idea of it in theory it works, but Ireland is too small. The reason that it's still going in America is because they have so much funding and so much more people.
Yeah.
And they have like their CEO will never probably be any of their makeup art. There's the teams are huge. It's just a bigger operation. The margins are different. So for us even to make money, off it, like our margins were so tight, even though, it was working. But it was hard. Like you need to really, that business needs to work so well.
As a country where we behind as well in accepting that we needed
that
this process, where people still stuck, because we find it as well within the trade industry and the electrical trade industry that we're a little bit behind
reluctancy
to change. That they like to be able to still ring their local, hairdresser, their local makeup artist, talk to them and book it. But at the time we were in a process of, and maybe even COVID had like brought us a lot forward, maybe moving on a few years, but COVID like taught people that, less face-to-face dealings was actually a lot quicker, a lot more efficient. Yeah. That maybe just slightly just ahead of the game.
Yeah, we did think because we were trying to make stuff seamless. That seemed to be, we were like, you can, like, so exactly to what you're saying. So, to the customer was able to pay securely online. Okay. So there's no cash, right? So the customer was able to pay. So that gave the beauty professional a guarantee that if this customer cancels, we'll give you something, is what we said, right? So your job is not completely gone. However, the beauty professional likes cash. And we also are taking a commission. Right.
Yeah.
But you wouldn't have got that job if it wasn't for us. So we, there becomes like, certain issues around that. But and then like, it wasn't really an issue for us. Like we would make our beauty professionals, like we weren't an agency. We're really like, we're not an agency, we're a platform, So we weren't managing all these people. Like we were trying to automate something, but like we constantly if, for example, soliciting clients, right? So if, a beauty professional went to someone's house and they swapped numbers, and, that was kind of the thing that was like this, we don't want you to do that because we can't have you on the platform if you're going to do that.
Yeah.
But like that, we also would have been able to say, look, you might get 10 or 20 more jobs with us a year where you solicit that customer, you're not getting any more work with us. Do you know what I mean? Like we're giving you this work. It's, but like this was the business model. Like we took a commission off the job. So then, I constantly bring them in for surveys. What you like, what you not like. What are you still on the paper diary? Okay, should we make? Can we automate this more? Even like it's kind of where we were trying to go. But like there was like the two-sided marketplace is really difficult to scale, and you need a lot of money. And like where it kind of went in the end with so we rebranded from Pucker to Glist as well. So we pitched to get into this thing called NGRC, which was a tech accelerator. So we got 50 grand from Enterprise Ireland, and we pitched to get in there, and there was like, we're like with 30 companies in there. It was amazing, and that was in 2016. And we rebranded from Pucker because we were like, no, this pronunciation's not really working. We were like, and especially at the web, something all, they were like, hang on, you do what? So you go to people's hotels, what is it again? They were like, is it hooker? We're like, no, it's Pucker, like pucker up, put your lipstick on. No, so we were like, we need to change this. So we changed it to Glist. So, but yeah, so yeah, with the like, you know, where it went, you know, the two-sided marketplace was difficult to manage. So we were like, well, we just turn this into a product that's for one side of the marketplace. Will we turn it in more for the beauty professionals? Like we're strong. We understand them. Will we make it more like, you know, something that manages their whole business on their phone or something like that? And I didn't actually end up, I built it, but we didn't end up releasing it. I have since seen other companies that are very similar to us in the UK only raising funding for it now. But like we were doing that 10 years ago, or sorry, 2016, 9 years ago. Busy at maths, sorry, it's not me strong. 9 years ago, we were doing that. But like, you know, so there was, because it was just, yeah, you know, it was difficult to kind of make the two sides happy, because with the beauty professionals as well, like they wanted to get, say, whether it was 50 or 60 euro for the job, right?
Yeah.
That meant we had to charge the customer 70 or 80, and they're like, why am I paying 80 quid for, you know what I mean? So it just, you couldn't keep everyone happy. So,
And then if you actually got that to happen, did you find there was a lot of people, like, you know, doing referrals, you know, doing a second job for that customer, like without including you? Like,
it wasn't a big issue for us, because it did happen, right? But it wasn't a big issue across the board, because we vetted our beauty professionals. So we didn't want anybody on the platform that didn't have a certain amount of experience. And we wanted to have people that knew, like, I mean, going to, when you, like, you know yourself, going to someone's gaff.
yeah.
Like you need to be professional. Like you need to know, not only do you need to be skilled, but like your language, like your everything that you're doing, you need to be professional. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
So we only wanted people that had a bit of experience as well. So we would meet people to vet them, to get them on the platform. So in that vetting process, there was a conversation that was like, this is where we fit. So if you solicit anyone, you're off, right? And this is these are the terms and conditions you sign up to.
Yeah.
So if you want to join, this is, you hit agree. Right.
Yeah.
So if we knew that had happened, we, you know, unfortunately, you know. So, but like, you know, I did have a great network myself, because I would have worked with a lot of them. But we had the biggest database of beauty professionals in Ireland at one point. So
It's deadly. Brilliant.
Where does the likes of a major company, as in Primark, come in and want to collaborate with the likes of Glisses? Was that something that you sought after, or was it something that was a surprise to you?
no, we kind of both, right? So we'd gotten to a stage. So we'd gotten to a stage we had to, like, we had investors, it didn't work out with them, we'd buy them out. And we were left with a big legal bill and everything. So we were at a stage where we had kind of ran out of money. And we still had this amazing database, and we still had this software that we'd built, and, like, you know, but behind the scenes it was really tough. So my business partner decided, she was like, I think she was so right. She's like, I want a job. She's like, I'm not doing this anymore. And I was like, you know what, that's great. And I always say, like, myself and Niamh, like, you know, we're still really close friends, and, you know, I would say we had a great divorce, you know, in a way, like, you know, we supported one another in that, you know, in that end. And because it was sad, like we built like an award-winning company on a WhatsApp group, and we didn't know, you know, at the time. We tried really hard, and what we achieved was amazing. So Niamh went off and got a job and works on WhatsApp. So funny, full circle, right? So, and she's doing great. And then the Primark opportunity came up, got an intro off another startup, a friend of mine. She was like, they're looking to do kind of, you know, stores within stores. And I was like, give me a meeting. I was like, you know, because also I felt I was on my own now. And I felt like this, it's if I don't get this, well, then I'm probably going to close, because we don't have any money now after the thing with the investors. I'm on my knees with this.
Yeah.
So I got a pitch deck together. I was like, I went in and I pitched them, and I was like, you know, I have the biggest data. This is all true. I have the biggest database of freelancers in the country. I was like, we can put hair and makeup in this shop, be the most profitable square meters in the whole store. Now, I clearly didn't know what I was talking about. They were like, oh, okay. So, so ended up opening PS by Glist. So yeah, because we'd rebranded at this stage. So PS being Primark, by Glist, for big, huge, 8 units, so 8 stages to do hair and makeup. I also built a new software, because I was like, well, GDPR was coming in, so I was like, I want to be the data controller and data processor. I want, so if anyone was like signing on, I looking back, I kind of wish we just had bought software off the shelf, just booking engine. But I built a brand new booking engine, right, as well. So yeah, so there was a lot of money spent opening it, and I'll give you a quick question, right? So busiest shop in the country is Penny's on Mary Street, right?
Yeah.
We had loads of press, okay? Like we had, and I remember actually feeling, so I broke my ankle like the few weeks before we were opening, and my first thought was when I fell, I was like, it's not going to work. They're not going to open it. Like that's where I was gone mad. It was touching madness. I was in A&E, and I was ringing one of my best friends, and I was like, do you think they're going to think like I'm weak? And she was like, you had an accident.
You broke your ankle, yeah?
Yeah. But I was like, it's all over. It's done. Hadn't even started. And but I was just like, it's going to be, so, but I was so worried all the time. I was actually looking back, I was kind of under a lot of stress because I was managing this new software build. Like that's enough for one person with your two developers. Then I was managing, I had my interns around in my house all the time doing like, help me do documents. Everyone was chipping in because it was just me to open it.
Yeah.
And then I had like, and a friend of mine, I was like, I got the units built, and they were an arm and a leg, and Pennies were very like, oh, we don't like this colour. Can you make like, actually, do you know what? Actually, they're mine. Turns out they're actually mine. But there was all of this going on. There was a lot of new people, I think, on their side as well working on this. This was a massive thing for both Glist, me, and them, because they hadn't really done it before at this scale. So we had so much press. It was like, the night, it was just like, there was just so much going on. And I was the kind of like, I was every department. So if you could imagine, like, customer service in Primark wanted to speak to me, but with the head of customer service, I had like, sales, I had the IT department. They were freaked out about GDPR and what that was going to be. And because no one knew, because I hadn't really come in. So it was just, there was a lot of people pulling out of me at that time. And then I was also, there was hiring, and I had like to get the whole thing ready and go. Yeah. So what would you say I made on the first day? After putting all of this in, took 2 months, 3 months to open, right? Get it all ready, broken ankle, 24 staff at this point. What do you think I made on the first day of my opening?
It's either really good or really bad.
Go for it. Give me a number.
24.
I'll say 25,000.
Yeah, okay. What do you think?
Yeah, someone say about 30, 40,000.
€175.
Wow. Fuck off. Oh, sorry.
It's totally allowed.
After everything,
that was the pre
settled on everything, paying everybody, and
€175 is what I made on the first day. So that's where it was going.
In 8 locations.
No, I was only in one location.
One location.
I was in the flagship
one
in the country.
The
country.
O'Connell Street.
Yeah.
So Mary Street. And it was but we had estimated,
and everything.
We would have estimated that, like that. Oh, like we estimated that it was, and that we were going to be in around, that per week or something like that. Would have not well enough to cover ourselves, cover loans, cover everything, and it just wasn't busy. And it wasn't because it wasn't even that people didn't know about it. They kind of couldn't understand. But I know now, looking at it, like it was like we were doing hair and makeup, right? And this makes so much sense now. But, people wanted their hair and their makeup done on Thursday, Friday and Saturday. And that was it, right? Yeah. So when you open, so basically we might have had 2 customers, 3 customers on a Monday. And there was all these people there. So because people, and also, so we're doing... So 90% of our business we were doing in 3 days. So maybe on a Saturday we might have had like 80 or 90 customers. On a Sunday we might have had 1. And I was paying somebody to be in there from 10 in the morning until 8 at night. It wasn't working.
Yeah.
And then also this was too cheap. Like as in I had Mac artists in there, at the start and stuff like that. Like we were doing makeup for 20 quid. And then they were taking something off the top of that. So it wasn't working. But the volume would have made it work. So we just didn't have the footfall for what the services were. Nails and eyebrows, they work every day of the week because they're a maintenance service. You can go in your tracksuit, you can be shopping, I'm here, I'll go and get my nails done, and it's quick. Well, say the eyebrows, 10 minutes, 15 quid or 20 quid, add-ons. So there's lessons learned. on both sides. But really unfortunate for me because I put
Like
so
the
much
Primark,
into it.
though, would there be nobody there to kind of guide that or, you know, crunch the numbers on that? Like,
We both did, you know, like
Yeah.
they approved my numbers because they
Yeah.
thought as well, you know, we're the busiest store
Yeah.
ever, you know,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
in Ireland.
Yeah.
Like it was so exciting. It was so exciting. I mean,
Yeah.
doing a commercial deal like that. But like, I think it's important for me. I don't mind sharing that because there's
Yeah.
like, as in, you know, sometimes things don't work out even when you're with a retail giant. And, you know, but I'm the one who suffered though, because it broke me in so many ways. You know, I was left with a bill at the end of the year that I was there, but luckily there was a global pandemic, so I had to stop anyway. So,
Yeah.
and for me, you know, I know it was very difficult for people, but for me, I actually kind of loved lockdown because
Yeah.
I was able to just sort of like, you know, like sort of deal with the company then and also heal from everything that happened because it seemed like, I mean, it just like, even it seemed like this lightning in a bottle. This is, of course, it's going to work. Like biggest database in Ireland,
Yeah.
software, makeup artists that are amazing, like hairdressers. It just seemed
one
so
place, yeah.
perfect. Put them in Primark, pennies, deadly. Like, you know, increase the dwell time in the store with the customer. They're going to get their hair done. They're going to spend more with you. Like it all just made so much sense. But it was just the services. Like, you know, if you could have opened for 3 days, I ended up working and I never, like on my first day, they were like, you know, will you open in the UK? Will you do this? But, and I because they just thought it would grow.
Yeah.
But it just didn't. And, you know, so by the end of that journey, I had skeleton staff. I worked every day myself. I didn't pay myself. But like, thank God I could do the services as
Yeah.
well.
Yeah.
But that wasn't the plan. Do you know?
It's given me an idea now of. I've done a lot of shopping with my wife and parents.
Yes.
You know, and I was thinking maybe they just need an area to have men to be able to sit down and maybe play Xbox or play PlayStation while their wives are shopping. You know.
That's actually a great idea.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
Here, I'm going in with you on that one. I can tell you what not to do.
And that could be every day of the week.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. No, but that's really good. Like, you know, it's not that the services, like the kind of in-store services you probably see in barbers in some places, you know, in the UK, they're like I said, the you know, the nails and the eyebrows and stuff like that all goes well, the threading, like all that works, but it's actually because of, and it's nothing got to do with the brand. I don't think it's just the services. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in it, those services just work in, you know, and I think, do you know, it's just, but look, it really broke my heart. And I felt a lot of shame actually around it because I felt like I
was going to ask you the opposite there. I was going to say, like, when the dust settled on it, did you feel any pride in what that
took me a long time.
It took, it's all that stuff. It just sounds like just bravery, courageousness, like ideas.
It was more probably because it was it was a do or die opportunity for you.
Yes,
She wasn't in a position to take the opportunity in a sense of, she had time to think about it. You had to take it, and that was it. Because if you had time, like what you were mentioning with the likes of Mac, like, and where they are, and in the type of department stores that they're in, you're probably getting a lot of more people coming through every day of the week at every time looking for stuff to be done. With Primark, from what I'm gathering from being like in shopping with my wife, a lot of people go in, they want to get in and they want to get out as quick as they can, get their outfits for the night out, because even on the same day type shopping, it's like I want to go in, I want to grab my outfit for tonight, and I'm going to get in, I'm going to go home and get ready. They're not really thinking about the business side of it, where I can go in there and I can do everything in one go.
Ready to go.
I'm ready to go, you know?
I think as well, like the difference, say, though, with Mac, right, or say somewhere like that, right, they're selling product every minute, every second of the day. They're selling product. We weren't selling product. We were selling a service. So if we had a product to sell as well, that was ours, you know, maybe, you know, the numbers would have looked different, you know, but we didn't. So like we were selling a service in a shop that was, you know, that's kind of like, you know, lower prices, like, you know what I mean, affordable prices. And it was always said, like, you know, be the cheapest and you'll be the busiest. We weren't. And it was like, you know, is is because of this. Like it's just those services were too cheap, and they were just done like we're only busy on certain days, so the rest of the week we were recovering. Do you know?
Yeah.
And even if you were doing it like in, like I just think that whole concept, like you need to have more services with the hair. The hair and makeup should be like lower, like as in like your volume should be, it's all nails and eyebrows and those kind of services.
If I was going in to get my beard done or whatever it is, that somebody is offering me, you know, the beard cream,
there you go,
the moisturizer and everything with it. So I'm leaving with the service, but I'm also leaving with the product. And that is the difference, really, isn't it? Like,
well, that's it, and that's why I started looking into Brave, which was a company that, it's a project more. I didn't, as I got funding a couple of years ago, I joined this thing called New Frontiers, which was, I got chosen, for New Frontiers, and I got 15,000 equity free, and I got on this program with Enterprise Ireland, but. And I went in with like a luxury male skincare idea, right? And so I got into this program. So it was 6 months, working with mentors. So basically what I had done over and back with List and all the other things, I said, I'm going to do this for the men's side, but based on what you just said as well, I was like, I'm done with all the beauty stuff. I was like, I don't want to know anymore. I was like, I'm going to start looking at the men's market. Like, it's always in you. You always feel like you want to start something. Yeah. So when I started looking at the men's market, I got in, and this is what I think is so important to research a business. But so I got in and I was like, I'm going to do like the Tom Ford of like male skincare. This is what I'm going to do. And then to start, I was like, I'm going to start interviewing men. So we interviewed like 500 men. Right, through online, through meeting them, and I was just so off, with what, things like men are mad for packaging, they also love a set, things like I'd be there like, they're laughing. Do you agree with that? Yeah. But I was just to sell makeup to men on Christmas Eve, when they'd be coming in buying for their wives or girlfriends or their sister, and they'd be like, what, what will I, I'd be like, what does she wear? And they'd be like, kind of like you, but maybe not as much. Or then there'd be fellas who would be like, they'd be real interested. I'd be like, is it this kind of brown? No. But the colours, right? And then I said, right, well, you get this brush and you get this, and you can get that on a set, and it's going to be like €100. To be like, they love the little, the set going on.
To get more
and
value,
also the getting in and out.
Yeah.
I'll take it.
She might like one part of the set. That's why I always would be thinking.
Yeah.
But yeah, so when I was asking fellas, I'd be like, doing my survey and stuff, what's your skin type, and tell me, what you're using at the moment. And I was blown away, this is not every guy, right? But because I interviewed guys who were into skincare, who were not into skincare, and who were younger, because I was trying to figure out my market. Who's this for, do you know? Yeah. So, but the kind of bigger market was the guys who were like, what product you use? To be like, water. I'm like, all right. I'm like, and then they'd be like, they'd be like, okay, and what would your skin type be? So a woman might say oily or combination, or I was like rough. They'd be like, say just all over the place, or I was like, this is, but it was gold, because I was like, I need to bring out. So I was way off. I was like the best of ingredients. I was like, I want this to be, and I'm not saying so that market exists. There's plenty of men who are into skincare, who are into luxury skincare. But I suppose with some of my research and what I discovered was that actually there was maybe a market of guys who really didn't know what to do. And actually they might be still using the same product for 15 years. They're using it since they were a teenager. So I was like, okay, maybe this is what. So I, researched that for 6 months, and was on New Frontiers phase 2, and it was amazing. But for personal reasons, I had to kind of put a strategic pause on it. But it's on the shelf. I sometimes feel, I might take it off again, but it is something that needs investment. Do you know that way? It's not something that I can just do myself now. I need money. Yeah. But I also would be excited for a product as opposed to a service. Yeah. As well. So there's no difference.
Product that I think men need to be educated.
Absolutely.
With the product. You know what I mean? And that's a tough one to do as well, because you need to be able to, like you said, entice us with the packaging. And get a little package together. But also,
you're so right. This is all this. You're actually the customer.
I'm a treat for two boots guy,
Yes.
But
Nivea.
Yeah.
But it's education. It's if you can be able to get somebody in and educate them at the same time. It's exactly what you need, because there is a lot of us out there that I've only started to learn just even about the beard. You know, the beard will sort itself out, like. But then you get somebody. You get somebody there just rubbing their hands through you, and they're putting this stuff in, and you come out there and you're like, Jesus Christ, you know what I mean? I have to get some of that for myself, like, you know what I mean? And I'm like, right, I'm actually going to go buy that the next time. And it's just somebody actually educating you and talking you through it. And, you know, there's a lot to be said for taking care of yourself, because a lot of men don't. And it gets to the point then where, you know, you're 40, 50, 60s and you're saying, shit, like, I had to just take it. Yeah, should have done something, you know.
Well, this is kind of what I learned. It's like,
I'm just like, this is me.
but no, but it's also like that's what I noticed. I was like, you know, it was across. You know, there was fellas who, like, there's lads who were like, you know, they've moved on with their job, their watch, their suit, you know, they might even live in a different country, and I'm like, you know, they are still using a product that they're using since they're really young. And by the end of some of the interviews, they'd be like, what should I be using? And but that was a really good thing, because I was like, okay, do you know what? There's just a market here that maybe they're not really sure. You know what I mean? Like, as you said, it's around just kind of like, it's simple, like, you know, step program or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
But you know, and I think it's, but like, and as well, like you know, I've just got really excited about a men's product as well, because I was like, you know, I'm a makeup artist still, so I have like of everything for women. There's loads you could bring out, but actually, with some of the stuff I do now, I work with a lot of men, and so that's why it's not gone. I just had to put a strategic pause on it at the time, you know.
And it can be quite unisex as well, like a lot of stuff, because there's a lot of people out there, you know, they could be going through a transition as well, and they're being marketed with female products, you know, and they really want to look after their skin.
Yes.
But it's really pushing towards a female. There's a female on the packaging. And I just think, well, what's there for me? You know what I mean? So there's a lot to be said for that as well. Like, so you have a full market there with them as well that you can look into, you know?
Of course, yeah. Like there's, you know, but that's it. It's like, just, it could be a product for everybody.
Yeah.
You know?
But I was saying there, you had an Instagram post up where you got to enjoy a bit of the darts, or maybe you did or you didn't, in the tree arena there recently. How has your work brought you into maybe like the likes of TV and the sporting realms and stuff like that? How's that come about?
So say Glist, lockdown, did a coaching diploma, right? And I was like, I want to, you know, I'd love to be able to, you know, mentor like kind of startups like me who were either burnt out or, you know, maybe starting their business, but kind of at the same time. So I had kind of like a little pause on the makeup, because obviously we couldn't do it, you know, like, you know, with people's house or anything like that. So when it started to open back up again, just contacts kind of came back, because I was also a bit like, I'll tell you the truth, like I was a bit allergic to I was a bit like, I don't even know if I like this anymore, because I felt so burnt by what had happened to me. I was like, I just felt like I hate the company, I hate makeup, I was like, you know, so, right? And I was like, I don't want to do it anymore. That's the way I felt, right? But again, talking about timing, just, so, you know, this job came in, right? And it was like to do the Rose Tralee. And I was like, you know, and it was just like production. It was like 2 nights, Rose Tralee, not even the roses, just all the presenters and stuff like that with a friend of mine. And I was like, yeah, brilliant, right? And it just kind of got me mojo back with it, in terms of, I was like, I love being on set. I am dealing with like really sound people, right? And then slowly but surely sport started coming in. So I started getting like, you know, just different premier sports, or like, say, you know, it might be, you know, the lads outside the pitch at the rugby, and it's like, so just, you know, making sure that they're camera ready, Roxas TV. And then I got, are you darts fans, by the way?
My father-in-law was in the PDC, so I'll be well into it now. I'm trying to get the young lad into it now as well. Next Luke Littler, hopefully.
So I hadn't a clue, right? So I got a call to do the darts. I was like, oh God, I was like, God, what's this? I was like, it's a bit like snooker, is it? It's a bit quiet, is it?
What's that for me,
I was like, what darts rock have I been under? I was like, this is the best job I've ever done. Right. So I've worked with them a few times now. Been very lucky to work with them a few times. So, and honestly, I've worked in the Tree with them twice. I've also worked with them in Belfast. I would work with them anywhere, because they are, so I look after Emma, and then any of the presenters you see. So anyone that's presenting on the stage, and they're just an amazing crew of people. But I just was just amazing, right? But I remember thinking like, it would be quiet. What's going to happen here? I was like, I couldn't believe, like, I was like, what have I been doing like all this time? It was such a fun and exciting job to do. So I'm a new fan now, but they're just a sound crew, and I just think it's full of positivity and positive energy, and and they're just all a great bunch of people to work with. From everybody is like, from anyone who's like the directors, floor managers, to the presenters. They're all just really sound and really cool. And I remember the first time I did it, they were like, "You can go now." I was like, "I might hang on." Actually, I was like, "What?" They're like, "We can hang on if you want." And I was just like sitting backstage at the tree, and I was like, "This is amazing." And then Belfast as well, just even to get to work in like a different arena, as well, which was great, and just experience all that. And like, the more you work with them, you get to know them and stuff like that. So, and I just think, like, it's just such a high energy. Like, it's such a good thing to go to. Like, if you want, you can't be in bad form at starts. Yeah. It's really positive. It's really uplifting. So I really enjoy my darts makeup. But what everyone asks me, I don't look after the players. Yeah. Sorry to say, I don't look after the players. I do see the players. I look after the presenters. So that's what
the main thing, though, isn't it?
What?
Presenters.
Yes.
Do you see yourself doing that, like, as in you're going back to your roots there, like, you're going back to what you do best? Well, I wouldn't say do best, but another thing that you do. Yeah. Is that something that you're looking to continue on there?
Yeah, like absolutely. Like, I really enjoy, and actually it's funny, like it's exactly what you said, back to the roots, but it's like all the joy that I feel I kind of, lost a bit when I was building. Yeah. And I feel like that came back, and it was sort of like, it's not, I feel like you have to be sort of my level of experience to sort of do a job like that. But the work itself is really good and nice, and everyone's sound. And it's not, it's not like, it's not like if you could be working on a film or a TV show and you might have loads and loads of people to do. Like, it's not loads and loads of people, but it's just really, it's really, I just really, really enjoy it. So I feel like the love completely came back again. I really love it. It's unique
as well. Like we said, like
sports makeup is actually like, it is, right?
The roots, but like, it's not what the makeup artist would normally be doing. No. Like, it's a really prestigious job within that trade. Like,
and it's really fun. But no, you're absolutely right. I feel like I love working in the sports side of things, sports makeup for camera ready and stuff like that. It's actually, it's great. It's really exciting. And yeah, I'm really enjoying that part of it, actually. But it is interesting because I've taught that as well. You know what I mean? I feel like all of that has kind of nearly brought me there. But there's always in you, like, I still have a huge passion for just like the beauty industry, but just the beauty tech side of things. Like, I do, like, I love kind of like I'm still kind of finger on the pulse around like any kind of technology or software that's kind of to do with beauty or booking systems. And obviously when it comes to like, actual physical products as well, I still love all that side of stuff too,
Yeah, we've talked to a couple of guys in the electrical trade, which would be like-minded, like Jordan. Yep. And so with that, it does really interest me and us as well, like, you know, the systems that can be put in place.
Oh, yeah.
And when they work, like, But going back to you being, doing the likes of Sky Sports and wherever else you're doing, like, but your work, I just want to go back to that again, like, your work is literally on show to tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of people, like, so that is not to be shown at, like,
No, and it's it's interesting because like Emma Patton, who's obviously like the presenter, she's just like a fabulous girl. She's just, I love her spit. She's so sound, and like she's real supportive. Like, she'll tag you and really sound. And I was like, why am I getting all these followers from the UK? I was like, one day it was like, another friend. So, like, I was like, because she tagged me, I just had like, it was like loads of lads just from the UK that followed me. I was like, so I don't know whether they're interested in my makeup at all. So, like, but it was just like, it was very, very sound that she's the kind of person that would do that. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But also it was like, I wasn't necessarily getting anyone that might potentially for business want to work with me, but just
push the skincare onto the lads.
There you go. Sorry, that's what, yes, of it, absolutely, yeah.
But what's next for Louise?
Well, I'm gonna do a podcast. So something that I have been thinking about for ages, but I'm finally kind of getting it together now. So it's called Start Up, Start Over. So kind of the message is a bit in the name. So I think from everything that I have been through with the business and sort of, you know, feeling like you need to kind of like, how do you start over again? So that's what it's going to really be about, because I do feel like, you know, when everything really goes well in your company all the time, like you don't learn anything. I think sometimes you need to have these roadblocks or sometimes take the wrong turns because you know you'll never do it again. And I would really like to be able to talk to people who've been through similar things like me and understand maybe how they've overcome it or how they were able to start over. Like I know I mentioned the word shame earlier on and I said, oh, that's kind of the way I felt at the time. But I don't feel like that anymore. I actually feel, in fact, I wouldn't take that back. I wouldn't take what happened back because it has made me so much of who I am today. And just even like lessons around, like, you know, when I'm a 2-time award-winning entrepreneur, like I was so attached to that. That was my identity, but I was smashed. And I, you know, I felt like a failure in so many ways, where now it's like, I'm just Louise Dunne. I am Louise Dunne. I'm not Louise Dunne Glist. You know, it's just Louise Dunne. You know, and actually do not be attaching yourself to all these things as well.
You are who you are, yeah.
Exactly. You're actually just human.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of where I'd like to start with it anyway. So I'd like to talk to, you know, start off by talking to other entrepreneurs who've maybe like hit a few roadblocks and listen to their story about, you know, maybe how they got over, how they changed and, you know, how they navigated their way through tough times. And, you know, the resilience is, you know, a powerful thing. And I'd like to share a bit more about that. So, yeah.
I know for any business owner, even thinking about going into business, like they don't know the half of it. You know they don't know the half of it. Like we've all made mistakes, and I think to have something like that where people can come on and tell you their fuck ups, like, you know, and tell you where it went wrong and then where it eventually went right. Like it's gonna be great. I'll be listening anyway.
I think we'll definitely be subscribers.
Oh, thanks. Have you any tips for me?
Just don't be afraid to make mistakes with the podcast as well.
Okay, yes.
Because we've made mistakes.
Right.
We've, from day one, made fuck ups, as Keith said. And we've learned
Still
from
making
it.
them.
And it's authentic.
Yeah.
So be authentic.
Right.
That's my bit of advice.
Yeah,
I think you can be as polished and, you know, as much as you want to be, but you know, a lot of people can see through that, you know.
You're so right, because perfectionism is actually a bit of a curse, isn't it? Yeah.
Real stories is where it hits.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I'll leave you to the most important question then.
Spotify playlist. Did you ever think of what song you want to put on the playlist for this season?
Is that a question?
It is. Yeah, you have to answer.
No. So I was put on the question.
So it's just
okay, right.
It's just a song that might be important to you, or a song that you really like that would go on to a Spotify playlist that we set up every season. That
What's your Spotify now? What's your most recent
No.
song?
as long as it's not Pink Pony Club again, because that got us in trouble.
Yeah.
We put that on and just Spotify weren't happy with it.
I'm gonna pick it's a cringe, but no, it's not. Steady song. I'm gonna pick Gold. Spandau Ballet.
Brilliant.
Oh yeah,
That's what I'm gonna pick. That's gonna be motivational song. Right.
Brilliant.
Class.
Right.
We go with that.
Deadly.
Appreciate you coming in.
Thanks for having me.
Cheers, Louise. Thanks.
Thanks, Mill.
See ya.
Episode 4 in the bag. Big shout out to our sponsors, Robus Lighting, the world's leading LED lighting company, for their continued sponsorship, and Snickers Workwear Ireland for their sponsorship of season 6.
Yeah, and a big thank you to our guests on the episode this evening. So first of all, Gary O'Neill, always great to chat. And secondly, on the special guest interview segment, we had Louise Dunne. Great chat with her also.
Yeah, if you liked what you heard, make sure you head over to wherever you get your podcasts. Give us a follow to be notified when the next one drops. Take it easy.
Talk to you next week.